famous figure of Maya Angelou. Okay, and we have pieces by Maya Angelou in the booklet. In terms of theme and concern of African American poetry, I have just said it. I mean, it's basically this issue of inequality, of segregation, but also when we think, especially when you remember pieces, you know, I too, for example, or The Negro Speaks of Rivers, or even Maya Angelou's poem. You have it in the booklet. We dealt with it, remember? Look at which page is it? Maya Angelou, remember? Yeah. Still I rise, voila, page 5. Yeah. The pattern is the same. In these pieces, remember that there is a pattern of defiance, a pattern of assertion of race, assertion of one's race, and even pride of belonging. Remember, so this is present in Langston Hughes as well as in Maya Angelou. Okay, how blacks, you know, in these movements emerge as figures, you know, that reread history, reread, you know, the lies, if you want, made by and written by whites of history, etc., and resituate themselves and their race, let's say, as very important and even decisive. Okay. Have I answered your question, Manel?
Yes, madam.
Okay, great. But let us, one of you, let it be you, Manel. Why not? Would you please read on page 11? Read the poem "The Emperor of Ice Cream" by Wallace Stevens.
The Emperor of Ice Cream, is it this poem?
Yes, page 11.
Call the ruler of big cigars, the muscular...
À la française, à la française.
Cigars.
Cigars, yes.
Cigars. The muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups, concupiscent carts. Let the...
Minute. Sorry for interrupting you, but just a tip. In English, whenever you notice the presence, for example, of the vowel, of the vowel, the I vowel, for example, B-I-G, yes or no?
Yes.
You wonder whether to pronounce it as bide or bid or whatever. See? An answer I give you without thinking of what the verb is, etc. Okay? If you realize that there is no other vowel after the consonant, like for example, if you had B-I-G and then you have an E. Are you with me?
Yes.
You have another vowel. But in case you have just the consonant and it finishes there, be sure that it's pronounced as short E. So bid.
Bid. Bid. Okay. And bid him whip.
Call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bid him whip in kitchen cups, tongue twister, concupiscent curds. Yes?
Let the wenches dwell in such dress as they are used to wear, and let the boys bring flowers in last month's newspapers. Let be final.
This is one of the most important lines in the poem. Let be, repeat it, Manela.
Let be, double B.
Let be final of C.
I thought it's a typo mistake, that's why I skipped it. Okay.
Yes.
Let be final of C, the only emperor and the emperor of ice cream.
Okay.
Take from the dresser of deal, lacking the 3 glass knobs that sheet, on which she embroidered fantails once, and spread it so as to cover her face. If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is and dumb. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream.
Thank you very much, Manal. Thank you.
Okay.
Nice reading. All right. Since we know what the poem is about, let us try to introduce it together. Or do you need a second reading? Amal? Are you still with us?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, you're not fine. Are you fine, darling?
Yes, alhamdulillah, yes.
Oh, Bismillah.
I'm a little bit sick. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Let it be you, Rania. Thank you, Amal. Rania? Rania, can we hear you? Rania? She's not with us? Maisa? She's not either. Oh. Meh. You are 14 participants. Okay. Manel Murad this time, not Manel 40. Manel? Manel? Are you with us? Present, absent. Now, this poem entitled The Emperor of Ice Cream, as you can see, is composed of how many stanzas?
Two.
Two. Two. Look at the number of lines quickly, please.
It is octet.
صحيح. Donc, the poem is composed of 2 octets, okay? Does it follow any rhyme scheme? Bon, cigars, whip, curds, dress, boys, papers, seam and cream. And then if you take the second stanza, the last lines read like, finish with beam and cream. So, something remarkable about this pattern of rhymes is that the last 2 lines of each octet, the last 2 lines rhyme. Yes or no? Yes? Yes? Look at the second octet. Deal, sheet, once, face. Come, done. Come rhymes with done. Yes or no? Once and face, well, half rhyme to tell. Yes? No, although many lines in the poem rhyme, okay, the poem does not follow a rhyme scheme, but what is remarkable, what is most important about it is that the last 2 lines of each octet rhyme, right? Great. What is it about? So we have described the layout. We've said that the poem is entitled The Emperor of Ice Cream, written by the modern American poet Wallace Stevens. Is composed of 2 octets where the last 2 lines always rhyme. What is it about? I mean, ask yourselves the traditional question. Is this piece a narrative piece? Is it, a dramatic one? Is it a lyrical piece? You don't know. Okay. Call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one, and bid him whip. Look at the verb to call. Is it in the simple past? No. Is it in the present simple?
Imperative tone.
The imperative. بقى call is in the imperative mood. Good. So there is the presence of the imperative here presupposes, c'est une présupposition, presupposes a voice, yes? Yeah? A voice who gives this order, yes or no? Call. Yeah? So the speaker, that emerges, if you want, at the opening of this poem is somebody who gives orders. Yes or no? Call the roll of big cigars, bid him whip concupiscent curds. So call, bid, let the wenches dawdle. So let do. Let the boys bring. Let be final of C.
Madam,
What do you notice? Yes, Manel.
sorry to interrupt you, but I just have a question now.
Yeah.
For the themes in general. I mean, can we have African American poetry or just the modern poetry here? I mean, are we limited to only analyzing modern poetry poems, or we can have African American poems?
Well, strange question, Manel. It's like when you think of something as part of something else. When you think of modern American poetry, okay, we think of it as composed of the poetry of African Americans, the poetry of blacks in America, and the poetry of non-blacks in America. Yes or no?
Yes.
All of these are modern American poets. Whether African American or not, they are modern American poets. Yes or no?
Yes. Okay.
I don't know if your question has to do with the exam. Is this the case? Is this the case?
No, I'm just speaking generally because here in the booklet it is entitled Modern American Poetry, and then in the poems I found somehow some aspects of the African American.
No. Wait a minute. Is it the first time you opened the booklet and checked?
No, it's not the first time.
Look at page 2 very quickly, please. Look at page 2.
Page 2, yeah.
What is it that you can see?
The list of tutorials. Yeah.
Wait, the list of tutorials. Do you have a title first?
African American poetry.
African American poetry. وأقسمت لكم على اثنين خاصة هذوما the major, if you want, movements when we speak of African American poetry.
Yes.
The famous Harlem Renaissance movement and the Black Arts movement of the 60s and 70s حتى الثمانينات زاد. شعنا فيه. Donc هذا هو. When you speak of the Harlem, when you speak of African American poetry, bien sûr, it's a modern American poet. It's modern American poetry.
Yeah, it's part of the modern American poetry.
Bien sûr. The rest of pieces, by Ezra Pound, by Amy Lowell, by Robert Frost, Roethke, Theodore Roethke, Elizabeth Bishop, Stevens, E.E. Cummings, are poems that are modern American poems written by poets who are modern American poets, but not African American.
Okay.
That's all. Okay. Bien sûr, case in point here is Wallace Stevens. He is not African American. Okay. أنا بقى اللي بديت نفهم سؤالك. If I'm not wrong, you wanted to tell me, Madame, look, in the exam, it might happen that we have a poem by an African American poet that is not that we have no poem of in the booklet. Another figure. And we cannot, and I'm not sure we can guess he's African American or not. Is this am I right or wrong?
Well, you're right, but to some extent, because I mean, here I'm just asking about the African American poems, just to know. I mean, in the exam, will it be the major focus on the African American theme?
equal chances ما فماش major focus. It happened that we give we give poems by African American figures, but it so happens as well that we give معناتها في الإكزامان قبل عطينا روبرت فروست، عطينا وولس ستيفنز ظهر لي ما عطيناش، مي بون إليزابيث بيشوب سي معناتها دونك نو معناتها ما تنجمش فهمت دونك نو.
Okay.
Not necessarily African American poets, no. Not necessarily. Can be, but not necessarily.
Okay, thank
Am I
you for
clear?
yeah.
Madam,
But in case but in case in case you have an African American poem in the exam, it will be by Langston Hughes or by Maya Angelou, not by some other figure. Although there are other major names.
May Angelou and who is the other poet?
وإلا لانكستون هيوز ماي أنجلو خاطر هذيك ذا بلاك ارتس موفمنت، ولانكستون هيوز اللي هو الهارلم رينيسانس. فهمت؟ هذا سي جامي if ever.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, وجدان you wanted to say something?
I think you have already answered, but my question was how can we know if the poet is modern American poet or just African American poet?
As I have just said, I mean, all even African American poets are modern poets. هكا modern American poets كلهم under the same umbrella of modern American poetry, yes or no? But within modern American poetry, are you with me? You have what we call African American poetry. In this context, we saw figures like Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou. Are you with me? The Harlem Renaissance, or the Harlem Renaissance insofar as Langston Hughes is concerned. When we speak of the Black Arts movement, it says 60s, 70s, and 80s. Generally, we choose Maya Angelou, for she is the most famous of figures at that time. Are you with me? مش معناها كيفاش نعرفوا مدام كيفاش نعرفوا دابور باش تعرف بالبويم اللي جايتك باش تحس بيه الفوكس على issues of race or not. هذه حاجة. Number two, as I have just told Manel, I mean, in case it's African American poetry, it's gonna be a piece by Langston Hughes or by Maya Angelou. Am I clear?
Yes, thank you.
Otherwise, it's modern American poetry, but not African American poetry. Not written by whites, not blacks. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
بالله back to the poem خاطر it requires much work. بالحق راهي مش evident مش سهلة بالكل البويم هذه. قلنا the verbs here in the first stanza, in the first octet, are you with me? Are verbs in the imperative, which then says it, okay? Call, bid, let, dodo, وبعد let, bring. Are you following? And then let be synonymous. Yes? What is noticeable here is that you have a succession in this stanza of verbs in the imperative mood. Yeah? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes? And the imperative mood is generally connected with orders, yes? Otherwise, with requests. وإلا, donc, imperative mood, donc, orders, requests, or can you see it? Yes, you can. So, do you think, now that you have read this first stanza, do you think that these are verbs, sort of conveying orders or requests or prayers? Yeah, you choose one of these options. Are these requests? Call, bid him, let the wenches dawdle, let the boys bring, let be.
Maybe it is the prayer.
Prayer to God. When you plead God, when you beg God. Requests whenever you notice that it is done very politely. Are you with me? And sahid, generally when you have a request, the imperative is attenuated. Are you with me? So مثلا نقول لك give me this bag, for example, give me this bag please. شفت سي l'impératif بالحق give, yes or no. أما تزيد لها هذوك those elements that would attenuate the order and make of it a request, yes or no. Here there is no attenuation, so it seems that you have a succession of verbs in the imperative that denote orders. Yes? Are you following? Now, there is no indication as to who the addressed party is or are. But what you can be sure of is that the addresser here, who is the speaker, yes or no, is a figure of authority. A figure of authority who is in a position to give orders. Yes or no? بلا يصير هكا say yes, no, react. So this figure of authority asks some party, can be singular, can be plural, we don't know, we'll see. Asks some party or gives orders to some party to call the roller of big cigars, the muscular one. To call the roller of big cigars for what purpose? The purpose of bidding him, try to be with me, bidding him whip concupiscent curds. Curds of what? Curds of ice cream. How do I know? Look at the title, The Emperor of Ice Cream. Now the title itself is very, I would say, very derisive, very ironic. It bears what we call an anti-climax. علاش anti-climax? For when you read the word emperor, you think of something great, powerful, yes or no? An emperor, a figure of authority. Yes, that extends over a whole empire, vast empires. Yes or no? Think of the British Empire, think of the Ottoman empires, الإمبراطورية العثمانية يعني بالمنطقة. Yes? Oh. Are you all with me? And the emperor is, of course, a figure of power and authority, ultimate power and authority. Yes? When you notice that the title here is a noun phrase. Billy, are you with me? Manel, has she left? Wow. Manel? Manel. Now, notice that this title, which comes as a noun phrase, the Emperor of Ice Cream, has as head for the noun phrase, the head of the noun phrase is the word emperor. Emperor promises كما قلت لكم power, authority, greatness, and so on and so forth. Yes? However, when you come to the modifier of this head, yes or no? Which is this prepositional phrase here of ice cream, yes? You realize that this is something, trivial. Ice cream. See? So this, you move from something magnificent, something great, something impressive, something even frightening, emperor, to ice cream. A very trivial, daily, if you want, stuff. Are you with me? Hence the idea of anticlimax, right? And this is highly derisive, highly ironic, and playful. In the first three lines, the focus is on this figure of roller of ice cream. You realize that by emperor of ice cream, is meant the roller of ice cream. And big cigars, okay? These are cigars, these are, resemble. These are things that resemble cigars in shape, and where you have, this cigar stuff and the curds of ice cream. شفت ايش قالك؟ In kitchen, concupiscent curds. Curds of what? Curds of ice cream. ما انتهيكم لي بول de glace. تخيلتوا الفكرة؟ Donc, call the roller of big cigars. السيد هذا اللي يخدم الخدمة هذه. And roller of big cigars. شفت a big, muscular one. Why muscular? Again, this is playful and ironic. Okay? Highly derisive. Do we need muscle? Do we need really a muscled body to be able to roll curds of ice cream? See? So hence this attitude of derision. Call the roll of big cigars, the muscular, and bid him whip in kitchen cups. Bid him whip not in sort of ornamented cigars. No, use the kitchen cups, no problem. Okay. Bid him whip. Concupiscent, big if you want. Curds of ice cream where in kitchen cups, right? شفت انت concupiscent curds الدنيا عرفت something great and magnificent, and then again in kitchen cups, which is something rather humble. Are you with me? So this play on contrasts between things of greatness and importance, of big size, are you with me? And things that are humble. Sort of create a sense of irony and playfulness and so on and so forth. The second or the first order has to do with this roller of curds of ice cream. Order, let the wenches dawdle in such dress as they are used to wear. Wenches here, there is an allusion to prostitutes, etc. The term is a bit shocking. Let the wenches dawdle, walk casually, leisurely. Okay? dawdle in such, it means that the occasion seems quite ordinary, in such dress as they are used to wear. And let the boys bring flowers in last month's flowers. Let the boys, it is an order the boys, ask them to bring flowers. We need flowers, in last month's newspapers. So we don't need something, let's say, decorated or something prestigious. No, just last month's newspapers. تخيل انت بشي يلف الفلاورز ما نعرف شي بيمشي يشتريهم يمكن ما يجيبهم في شنو in last month's newspapers. Again, derision and irony. And then comes the last couplet, or the last two lines. They come. Let's be final of scheme. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream turns out to be a refrain in this poem, okay, which gives importance, majesty, etc., to a figure that is here actually mocked or derided, right? The only emperor. So if there is any emperor, it is the emperor of ice cream. Because the emperor of ice cream will provide us, curds of ice cream, and this is pleasurable, right? The impression you get is that the poem seems to mix self-aggrandizement with self-deprecation. Is the idea clear? Deprecation. So there is a mixture of self-aggrandizement and self-deprecation. You notice that a household seems that there is some signs of household occasion to take place, possibly the success of, possibly this is to celebrate the success of some boy or girl or something like this, and possibly for some other reason, okay? However, the last lines of the first octet, for example, when the ones that say, let be final of seem, here the word final is a theatrical term denoting the end game. Denoting معناها denoting the drawing of the curtains and the end of the scene, or the end of the play even. Okay, so here you have something of a theatrical metaphor, right? Now in the second stanza, you have take from the dresser of deal, lakin you have details about this dresser of deal, which is, a piece of furniture in the house. Piece of furniture, an old one, okay? It's a wooden wardrobe. Wardrobe, a wooden wardrobe is called the dresser of deal. So take from the dresser of deal, lakin the 3 glass knobs. Take what? Take that sheet on which she embroidered fantails once. Here you realize the presence of the third person pronoun she, third person female pronoun she, speaking of a female figure that embroidered, this sheet hidden in the dresser of Deal in the past, okay? The impression you get is that this sheet is now needed. We'll see why. And spread this sheet. So these are again verbs in the imperative. Spread it so as to cover her face. Wow, to cover her face by her own sheet, by the sheet she embroidered once. Why to cover her face? If her horny feet protrude, they come to show how cold she is and dumb. So she is cold and dumb, and she will have her face covered with her sheet. So she is dead. Let the lamp affix its beam. The only emperor is the emperor of ice cream. You have the impression that this speaker, who gives orders here, who seems to be in charge. So the voice in the poem is the voice of somebody in charge of arranging. The voice of the person in charge of arranging for the funeral ceremony. So you realize that this poem entitled The Emperor of Ice Cream is a poem of occasion, or is an occasional poem, and very sarcastically the occasion turns out to be the occasion of death and of funeral ceremony, the death of a woman, an old woman, most likely the owner of this house, or at least a dweller in this house. Are you with me? The atmosphere conveyed through these orders of, that pertain to arranging the ceremony, create a mood resembling the mood of festivity. So is it mourning for the death of the woman? The poem itself seems to ask this question, to raise this issue. The issue of life and death, and how the occasion of death, so these are people met, these are relatives of the woman, that meet in her, in her house, in her, household, okay, to take part in the, if you want, in the funeral ceremony, in the rituals of the funeral ceremony. The time or the occasion is the occasion of the wake. You know what the wake is? The wake is the night spent keeping watch by a dead person's body before it is buried. Okay? Hence, the need for this sheet from the dresser of Deal to cover her face. Are you with me? Because her face tells of death, And the meeting of those persons, of those relatives in her house, do, take part in this funeral ceremony. Creates a mood very reminiscent of festivity, of celebration, with the ice cream, the roll of big cigars. Are you with me? With the flowers and with the, the wenches dawdling and all this stuff. Okay? You might tell me, Madame, nowadays, in the modern age, this is not typical of a Western context or of an American context. It's even the same, somehow the same, or roughly the same for us, even in our societies, in our, Eastern context, not Western context. How the wake and how, this meeting of relatives in the house of the dead person becomes an occasion of of festivity, of a feast. Are you with me? The tone of the poem is highly, let's say, is highly derisive, and it's sort of, as I have said, raises this issue of death and life, and how they can be often mixed in such a way as to wonder as to whether people are mourning or is celebrating, the departure of some person. Highly derisive, highly ironic, and highly satirical. What is missing, what seems to be missing at least in this occasion, and this is remarkable, are, the tears, the woes, the pains of those who, who lost a dear person. So, of course, this is an allusion at the apathy of the modern age and of modern men. Am I clear? Hey. Are you still with me? At least write something by way of response. Is it already time? Oh, I think it is indeed. Amal?
Yes. Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. But is it already time? Sure? لا انتم اخذ عندكم ساعة ونص، قديش لازم المفروض قديش نكملوا؟ أمل؟ So from
I think it is 11:30 نورمالمون.
نكملوا 11:30.
نورمالمون يس.
طيب بنتي عاد ما زالت 11:30. توا 11:04. Do you have any question? No question? Since you have no question, I invite you to have a look at Yes is a Pleasant Country, since this is the only piece left untackled. Page 12. Are you there? Read it silently. You have 2 minutes to do it. Yes is a Pleasant Country by E.E. Cummings. Are you there? Right. Take 2 minutes. What time is it? Mm-hmm. Done? Are you through with it? Hey. Rania? Wujden? Maisa? Hey, Wujden. Would you please read the poem to us? Read it aloud, please, would you?
Which page? Because I lost my connection.
Page 12. Yes is a Pleasant Country by E.E. Cummings. Just to say a few words about it.
Yes.
Yes, Wujden.
Yes is a pleasant country. If is wintry, my lovely, let's open the year. Both is the very weather, not either. My treasure, when violets appear. Love is a deeper season. That reason. My sweet one, and April's were we're.
Okay. شوف وجدان look. Insofar as punctuation is concerned, I have always advised you to read, the poetic piece or to read the poem in light of its punctuation. Remember? I have always said that, for instance, whenever you have a run-on line or a case of enjambment, we call it, okay, we need to go on reading until we reach some punctuation mark. Yes? Yeah. In this piece, which tells much about the issue of punctuation, this is a piece that problematizes punctuation altogether. Okay? It makes a problematic issue, this issue of punctuation. You seem to, disregard punctuation altogether. Which then, look. You read it this way. Yes is a pleasant country, and then you mark a pause, for you have a colon. The colon is explanatory in English, you know this. Yeah? So you read it this way. Yes is a pleasant country. If it's wintry, my lovely, let's open the year. Both is the very, not either, my treasure, when violets appear. Love is a deeper season than reason, my sweet one, and April's were. You have no full stop. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. What is this poem about? The poem entitled Yes is a Pleasant Country. Notice that it takes its title from, or it borrows its title from its first line. Yes? Yes? You can see three quatrains. Yeah? Any rhyme scheme? You have country, wintry, lovely, and dear. Weather, either, treasure, and then appear. Season, reason, one, where. Are you there? Many lines, let's say, many lines in this poem do rhyme, like the first and second, country and wintry, yeah, like weather and either, like season and reason. So you realize that in terms of, there is a pattern in this poem whereby the first two lines of each quatrain, هو معهم 3 quatrains هكا ولا؟ The first the first two lines of each quatrain rhyme. Yes or no? Hey, since country rhymes with wintry, weather with either, and season with reason. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, alhamdulillah. So this is insofar as description of rhymes in the poem is concerned. Now, what is this piece about? We don't know, madam. Okay. But look at the first line. Is there any figure of speech used in the first line? Yes is a pleasant country. But now, the word yes in this poem is used metonymically. It's a case of metonymy. And by yes is meant to say yes. Yes? Yes here means positive response. Positive answer means accepting. This is why yes, the word yes, is used metonymically to stand not for itself, but for a closely related idea, which is the idea of acceptance, agreement. Are you with me? Of positive response. This, yes, is said to be a pleasant country. Notice here that there is an implicit comparison between positive response, which, to which yes stands here, by way of metonymy. Yes means a positive response, okay? Now, positive response or yes is a pleasant country. Here, there is an implicit comparison between these two, between positive response and pleasant country. And this pleasant country here becomes metaphoric. Okay, not a real country. Okay, it's not a real country. It's the country of agreement, of understanding, of love, etc. Yes is a pleasant country. Then the colon explains how yes is a pleasant country. It says if swintry, to say if becomes here again. This is another case of metonymy, right? Where the word if, which is the word of the conditional, هكا ولا, stands not for itself, but for a closely related idea, which is the idea of hesitation. Yeah? To say yes means to accept and to welcome, etc. To say if means that you hesitate. Okay? Are you following? Now, if yes is a pleasant country, if is wintry. Notice here the use of the short form, if wintry. So let us finish with this if stuff, okay? And then you have between parentheses, my lovely, a very, let's say, as an expression that shows much intimacy, much love, etc. In the third line for this poem, in the third line of each stanza, of each quatrain, we have a direct address to the lady. In the first stanza, she is addressed as my lovely. In the second, as my treasure. Yeah. In the third, as my sweet one. Are you following? Okay. Notice here that the lady has been called into attention with very light-hearted expressions, or with very, let's say, playful expressions. The poem uses startling or shocking punctuation and grammar. In writing Yes is a Pleasant Country, E. Cummings seems to have the Carpe Diem motif in mind. Carpe Diem بين حكينا عليه قبل في بالي ولا؟ So this poem is written against against the Carpe Diem motif. The Carpe Diem motif, for it sort of challenges this motif. In classical literature, the lady or the beloved is generally frightened, lest time should elapse. So less time should elapse, and she should, lose her charms and her beauty, etc. with time. Are you with me? As she grows older. So this is why she needs to join her lovers. This is the rationale of the Carpe Diem motif. Okay, to invite the lady to join her lover. Are you with me? To accept his courtesy, his love, his call for love, etc. Because of the menace, because of the menace of time. Are you with me? This is a classical motif. The poem seems to be, this modern poem by Cummings seems to play against this Carpe Diem motif. By Carpe Diem means seize the day, seize the moment, or seize the day. Yeah? The poem does not tell the beloved that beauty is short-lived or ephemeral, or that she will lose her charms. Instead, the poem invites the lady, the speaker invites the lady to join him to a world of love and intimacy, etc., through other techniques, not of the Carpe Diem, not by frightening her. Yes? There is a progression in the poem that comes at the level of intimacy. And the poem consists in a seduction process. And this progression in the poem may be noted on various levels, as far as the addresses to the lady are made or are concerned. From my lovely, to my treasure, to my sweet one. First, there is a progression in the diction. So you move from a comment on appearance, in my lovely, to a comment on outlook, my sweet one, to a comment on character, to a reference to her position in the choice of my treasure. There is another movement here, associated with this is the movement to the pleasantness of a shared relationship. There is also a progression on the level of punctuation. You move from parentheses through the comma to total absence of punctuation. Progression also on the level of tone. So from shyness and distance in my lovely, with the parentheses of shyness, through less shyness and closer distance, to total intimacy at the end. The poem opens on an unusual metaphor which equates yes with a pleasant country, that is something abstract, intangible, with something physical, followed by if equated with the winter season. So rather than speaking to the lady, the poet is speaking with the lady, inviting her to a pleasant time. Now, the speaker's tone in the poem is playful, light-hearted, and unlike the traditional carpe diem poet, E. E. Cummings introduces a light-hearted note in his poem. Yes? This is how the speaker promises his lady. The seduction process peaks in April is where we're, okay? So wherever we are, it's gonna be April, and April is the mating season. Mating season is the season of the lovers. So April is not the real April. April is where we are. So April becomes a place, not a time, right? And notice the constructions in the use of the short form, apostrophe S, apostrophe RE. So it is also possible to read the last line as recalling the pleasant country of the opening line. A positive attitude, so, on the part of the lady, ushers the lovers into a world where there is eternal spring. April is where we're. So this is how the poem actually works. If you have no question, let me just wish you the best of luck for the exams and for this university year as a whole. If you have no question, just I will thank you for your attention. Do you still have any question before we go?